Militias of animal herders and farmers clash in the Ituri region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Changing ideas about autism in Ghana. And a new coffee brew with a selfie of you. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory and this is Africa 54. Now, in one of the sharpest criticisms yet from an African government, Botswana is blaming Congolese President Joseph Kabila for his country's humanitarian and security crisis. The statement issued on Monday by Botswana urged the international community to put more pressure on the leadership in the Democratic Republic of Congo to relinquish power and pave way for the ushering in of a new political dispensation. Now, Kabila is facing mounting pressure in the streets to organize prompt elections. Security forces in Kinshasa shot dead 2 civil society activists and wounded several other people during church-led demonstrations on Sunday. More than a dozen protesters have been killed since December. Inter-ethnic clashes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have killed at least 22 people, including 15 civilians, over the past 2 days. Now, the Ituri region in the Democratic Republic of Congo has had a series of conflicts dating back decades. Recently, conflicts largely between militias and animal herders and farmers had again flared up. VOA senior analyst Jeffrey Young discusses the situation with 2 relief NGOs working in the troubled region of Ituri.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's restless northeast Ituri region has since December erupted once again in major ethnic violence, and as a result, people are fleeing. The long-standing conflict pits the militias of the livestock-herding Himas against fighters for the farming Lendus. Each wants to control the land for their own way of life. Caught in the middle are hundreds of thousands of civilians, including a large number of children, as described via Skype by UNICEF DRC Director Yves Villemont.
So our estimates is that we have 110,000 people that are internally displaced within the province of Ituri, people that have fled from their communities and villages following the violence that their communities and villages have been facing.
Villemont says more than 66,000 children are part of that huge number. Says that some people have moved to Ituri's capital, Bunia, while others have fled to Uganda. The impact of this renewed conflict on people in Ituri is described via Skype from Goma by relief NGO Solidarities International DRC Country Director Javier Loth.
From what we know, and we have not been able so far to access to all places of the big territory of Ituri. From what we know and what we have been able to access and to assess, the situation is dire for the people who have been displaced. We are talking about people indeed without shelter, people with no access to food, with no access to basic non-food items.
UNICEF's Villemont says that this inter-ethnic conflict has destroyed clinics and access to health services, and schools have also been impacted in several ways.
Education is being put under pressure in the sense that schools are being burned down and attacked, but also because schools are being used as places for displaced people to stay.
The DRC government and the UN force MONUSCO are working to stop the violence and enable relief to get to those impacted. But as Solidarity's Loth points out, the country is currently facing multiple insurgencies, especially one in the southeast Kivu region, taxing the ability for it and others to effectively respond in Ituri.
When one province such as Ituri is currently, I would say, on fire and with bigger humanitarian needs, it's also a question of capacity to deploy, capacity to get more resources to respond to another province, to another issue, to another crisis. And of course, there is no one actor that can respond to all of that alone.
These NGO officials and others say the only effective solution for DRC's conflicts is a combination of robust international assistance to keep the peace, along with an infusion of development to turn warring factions into stakeholders who then have a reason not to kill and destroy. Jeffrey Young, VOA News, Washington.
Well, in West Africa, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari is ordering his security agencies to make every effort to rescue 110 schoolgirls who were abducted by suspected Boko Haram militants. Meanwhile, Nigeria's army and police have publicly disagreed over the security arrangements that were in place in the northeastern town when the attack happened. The army issued a statement on Monday saying its soldiers were withdrawn from Dapchi in Yobe State before the girls were seized from their school by armed insurgents on February the 19th. Somonu Abdul Malik, Yobe State Police Commissioner, later issued a statement saying the claim of a handover was untrue, unfounded and misleading. The attack was one of the largest abductions since the Chibok kidnappings in 2014. Now, a Russian-ordered humanitarian pause went into effect early on Tuesday near Damascus, giving respite to the residents of the besieged area, which has been under intense attacks for weeks. Syrian state-run TV broadcast video of medical cars preparing to transport civilians out of the eastern Ghouta. Russia's defense minister says President Vladimir Putin ordered the strikes to cease between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time. Well, our journalists on the ground say there have been mortar attacks in that area, preventing civilians from leaving. It was not immediately possible to verify that claim. Russia's temporary suspension of the airstrikes comes as a UN ceasefire failed to take hold in Ghouta. Now, VOA's Elizabeth Chanov has more on the war in Syria, its brutality and the ongoing political bickering.
Pulled from the rubble of a fallen building, one of the youngest victims of the latest bloodshed in Syria is rushed to a nearby car. On Sunday, airstrikes continued in the rebel-held region of eastern Ghouta near the country's capital of Damascus. The latest bombing comes in the wake of a UN Security Council vote in favor of a 30-day ceasefire. Just after the resolution passed, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley singled out Russia, slamming her Russian counterparts for the vote delay.
Every minute the Council waited on Russia, the human suffering grew. And after all of this time, hardly anything has changed in the resolution except a few words and some commas. The Syrian people should not have to die waiting for Russia to organize their instructions from Moscow or to discuss it with the Syrians.
Russia, a key ally of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, hit back against U.S. criticisms of procrastination.
The aim of the fight against terrorists must not become shielding the adoption of geopolitical agendas with dubious legitimacy. And this is what the U.S. is doing right now in Syria.
Early reports from a British-based aid group estimate that the death toll in Syria has surpassed 500 since the latest bombardment began last week. More than 2,000 kilometers away, Pope Francis urged an end to the violence to allow the Syrian people access to food and medicine. Back in Damascus, locals expressed skepticism that this latest truce will have a concrete effect on fighting between rebels and government forces.
We want this country to get relief, whether it is Ghouta, Aleppo, Hama, the Latakia suburbs, Daraa, or Quneitra. I want all Syria to get relief.
A solution in Syria still seemingly out of reach. Elizabeth Cherna, VOA News, Washington.
A panel of experts will brief the United Nations Security Council on Tuesday on the humanitarian crisis spawned from the war in Yemen. The update comes a day after Russia blocked a resolution that would have called out Iran for violating an arms embargo against Yemen's Houthi rebels. During a vote on Monday, Russia wielded its veto against the British drafted text. U.S. envoy Kelly Currie says Russia's veto serves only to protect Iran's efforts to destabilize the region and spread its malign influence. Now, the Council did unanimously adopt a Russian written resolution calling for a simple one-year extension of the sanctions regime against Yemen and renewal of the work of the panel of experts. The independent panel of experts who monitor the implementation of sanctions concluded its most recent report that Iran had failed to prevent weapons transfers to the Houthi rebels. But it also found that the Saudi-led coalition had obstructed the delivery of the humanitarian aid with its air and sea blockade, and that some of its airstrikes violated international humanitarian law. Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We are also streaming our show live on Facebook. So check us out and share your thoughts with your friends. Now, find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Well, coming up now, how a mother is challenging the way Ghanaians think of autism. Stay with us.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is our health correspondent Lino Madu with some news, actually the very latest news on autism screening research. Lino.
That's right, Vincent. Scientists have taken the first steps toward what they say could become a new test, a blood and urine test to detect autism. For this new study that published in the Molecular Autism Journal, researchers looked for chemical differences in the blood and urine of 38 autistic children and 31 children without the condition, all aged between 5 and 12. In those with autism, they found higher levels of protein damage, which they say are associated with ill health. The scientists say the test could ultimately be used by doctors to diagnose autism earlier in childhood by detecting these markers. However, some researchers are expressing caution about the study, saying it may give some clues about people with autism, but it is far too early for a new method for diagnosis. Now, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 160 children worldwide has an autism spectrum disorder. Access for proper diagnosis and treatment remain challenging in many low and middle-income countries, including those in sub-Saharan Africa. In Ghana, a mother of a child with autism is fighting for a better life for her daughter and those affected with the disease.
Look at Mommy's face. Russian. Nana, look. Russian.
Renata Nanaya Ohenawa Kofua was just an ordinary toddler. She crawled, she walked, and attempted to talk all by herself. But all that changed one day.
Before she turned 3, I noticed that a few words that she had, she lost them. She wasn't playing well. She wanted to keep to herself. she had some repetitive behavior.
Renata Nanaya's certain behavior change was a result of autism, but her mother Mary did not know that at the time.
In African setting, we say somebody might have touched your child. In other words, they might have exchanged her destiny. So why don't you start seeking spiritual support?
Autism, according to the World Health Organization, is a range of disorders that affect a person's social, communication, and language skills. But Mary, without guidance and information, was left wondering how can her child that she loved and considered a priceless gift present so many challenges.
The deep hatred I had was more of what she was going through, the things that she wasn't able to do as a child, okay? And so at a point, I started seeing her as probably a child who has come to destroy my own life.
A family friend from the United States visited Mary and her daughter in Ghana. She was the first person to point out that Nanaya might have autism.
That was my first time of hearing the word, and I didn't know the meaning.
Ignorance and social stigma are some of the reasons why parents do not accept their children's reality, and that can delay in seeking medical health. 1 in 87 children in Ghana under the age of 3 are affected by autism. That's according to the figures by the Rural Integrated Relief Service Ghana, a non-for-profit organization. Ghana, with a population of 26 million people, has only 5 speech and language therapists.
Mary now works as a center coordinator with Awawa 2, a charitable organization based in Accra that provide care and support for children with autism.
Our overall goal is to create an inclusive society, a society that will recognize children with speech and language difficulties, children with disabilities to have equal rights. We believe that the parent is the child's best result.
Although there is no cure for autism, Renata Nanaya, now 14, has made small but significant improvements.
The biggest goal and dream for Nanaya, it's for people around her to accept her as she is, even if she's not going to be cured of her autism.
Mary continues to teach her daughter functional skills because she believes autism should not be a dead-end situation.
What an inspiring story. Well, joining us for more on addressing autism in Africa is Susan Kwizera, an applied behavioral therapist and founder of New Life Foundation Uganda. Susan, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
So you saw the story of Nanaya. What is your reaction?
My reaction to that is it's the same problem we are facing in Africa, especially Uganda. Where I come from and where my foundation is, there is little awareness of autism, and parents and people, families don't know how to handle and to relate to children with autism.
We also, I mentioned earlier about the new research that may give some hope regarding new ways of diagnosing the disease. Where do you think that research should focus on moving forward?
I believe the research should be on behavior management and social skills, because as we know, the cause and cure for autism is not yet known. Yes. But we can work on those things of development, speaking, speech therapy, special skills with them. Those are the things that we can really focus on with those children.
And part of your specialty is applied behavioral analysis, which is something you specialize in. Can you tell us a little more about what it entails?
Behavior therapies is, we deal with these children, especially the young adults, whereby they have different behaviors. And it's until you understand their behavior and you work on them. And we have seen a lot of changes, as they grow up, when they get that special service, that their life becomes much better.
Tell us about what your organization is doing, New Life Foundation, and how it's impacting the life of children with autism in Uganda.
My program is, we deal with skills like language skills. We deal with therapists. We teach children music, We teach children swimming. We do a lot of outdoors activities and exercises. And we also, my program also accommodates them, and it's a big relief to the parents with those children.
So knowing that there is no cure for autism then, what is the goal? Is it to get the kids to be able to be independent and be able to dress themselves by themselves, or to get to the point where one day they can function as a normal person? What are the goals in the short term?
Yeah, the goals definitely, it's about their special skills.
Okay.
These children are skilled in different areas. They are computer skilled, they are artistic. So we train a lot of them on the computer. Some don't communicate, verbally, but they can communicate through computer and signs. So we encourage the parents and the therapists and coaches for those children to look at their special skills. And I believe that each and every one of them have a special skill.
Quickly, a lot of the people that are involved in working in autism is because either they are parents or they know someone. You are neither one of those. So why did you feel the need to get involved in your country, Uganda?
I believe in purpose, and I found my purpose. And after working with them for 5 years in California, that's how my passion came into thinking about them, especially in my home, Uganda.
Okay, Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And that's Susan Kwizera. She's an applied behavioral therapist and founder of New Life Foundation. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Vincent, back to you.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much. And I'll be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Now, around the world, 1 in 3 people suffer from something known as hidden hunger. Their stomachs may be full, but the food they are eating is not nutritious. A San Francisco food technology firm is working in Liberia to see if it can make a popular Liberian dish more nutritious. Viewers Michelle Quinn reports.
This is called power gari. Gari is also the Liberian name for cassava. Like an amazing cream of wheat, the texture, the mouthfeel of this cassava from the farm is just perfect.
Thomas Bowman has worked as a chef at award-winning restaurants. Now he's in San Francisco, cooking up power gari, a mush made from the cassava plant and fortified with vitamins, minerals, and protein, and a sprinkle of cinnamon.
So this is something that they eat every single day there. And what we kind of have done is taken the product and kind of made a culturally relevant food better. So this power gari here has about 12 grams of protein per serving.
Bowman works for Just, a San Francisco tech food company that makes mayonnaise, cookies, and other foods more nutritious by adding high-tech, plant-based ingredients. In January, the company began selling power gari in Liberia. Its vision is to fix world malnutrition by offering local foods that taste good and provide vitamins, minerals, and protein. More than 30% of Liberians suffer from poor nutrition.
It's sometimes hard to get the exact flavor profile because the cassava or the sugar, whatever it may be, that we're using in northern Liberia is different than what he can get access to here in the office.
Quinn brings ingredients from Liberia, where he lives, back to the San Francisco office, where they are tested and cooked. Liberians in the country make the final product, relying on mostly local ingredients. Quinn talks up power gari to his neighbors in Monrovia in Liberian Creole.
Your children, they will grow so big and strong, and they'll be healthier, and the taste is sweet. The taste is so sweet, the children, they will think it's okay.
Just makes its money by licensing its product to local manufacturers. It may go next to Nigeria or Kenya. The goal, says company founder Josh Tetrick, is nothing less than solving the world's unjust food system.
We want to end micronutrient deficiency in the world. We're starting with Liberia, and the potential to do it, I think, quicker than a lot of people realize is right in front of us.
Just is bringing a Silicon Valley drive and know-how to solving one of the world's most vexing problems. And they are starting by selling a meal in Liberia that cost about 5 cents per serving. Michelle Quinn, VOA News, San Francisco.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. A new gadget lets you sip on your selfie. We'll be right back.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. At Barcelona's Mobile World Congress, robots are serving coffee, teaching coding, and even helping people improve their posture. Moving monitoring guardian Mobelf is claimed to be a keen-eyed security guard. Using its live streaming from front camera, users can schedule the friendly-looking droid to perform a complete home surveillance when its owners aren't home. Meanwhile, Tiny Barrow is on a mission to improve people's posture. It works with a smart cushion that senses a user's sitting position and responds accordingly. Blue means they are sitting correctly. Red means they should probably reconsider their position. Meanwhile, a new coffee brew with a selfie of you. Istanbul-based innovation agency Create4 is showcasing a device that allows people to print their selfie photograph on the top of a frothy coffee. The process works like digital 3D printing and takes a matter of seconds. It can also print messages, perhaps a personal message to a loved one, or logos, perhaps a coffee store's. The device can also print on food such as cookies. The device is already being used by several coffee shops around Europe. Well, and finally, away from the booths of Samsung, Sony and Huawei is the MWC. A number of small smartphone makers are competing for attention with innovative designs. Analysts say that design innovation has plateaued out in the mainstream phone space, giving the small players a chance to carve out a market with their quirky designs. Innovations include flip cameras and tap phones built for fans of the outdoors. And that's what's trending today. Well, now that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings, Today Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. So, you know what happy is, and medium comes between small and large.
To find a happy medium.
So, is this idiom about feeling kind of happy?
How is it going with your neighbor? Is he still complaining about your playing the trombone at night?
He was, but it's fine now.
How did you guys work